This is everything you need to know about children's picture books, and today I'm going to talk about Robert McCloskey, more specifically his 1941 book Make Way for Ducklings, in which he expertly includes all 5 elements of a bedtime story. First, he takes his time setting up the story. There are a full 22 pages of this book before Mrs. Mallard even lays her eggs. But it's in those pages that we get so much context and foreshadowing for what's going to happen in the rest of the story. First, we get to see Mrs. Mallard's concern over finding a safe home for her family. We get a lovely tour of Boston, which gives the story a very grounded sense of place. We get to see the lore of the public garden and why the Mallards like it so much. We meet Michael, who's going to be integral to the story later, and we get the foreshadowing of the danger of being in the city streets. This danger also introduces the conflict of the story, the fact that the Mallards want to live in Boston but are struggling to find a safe place to do it. Over the next 10 pages, we get to meet the ducklings and see what their life is like on the little island before Mrs. Mallard takes them to the public garden to meet Mr. Mallard. And this is where we find our oh no moment. Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings try to cross the street and can't. There's too much traffic and it's too dangerous for them. And then we have the agency. First, Mrs. Mallard's agency by quacking for help, but then Michael the policeman's agency, who comes and saves the day by stopping traffic so the ducklings can cross safely. He even calls his other officer friends to come and stop their traffic so that the ducklings can make it all the way to the public garden. We have a resolution when Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings thank the policeman for their help and reunite with Mr. Mallard. And in the resolution, we have the story winding down with the ducklings living happily in the public garden and eventually going to sleep peacefully. The perfect ending to a bedtime story.